The story, I would say, is built on two pillars, two main pillars. One of them is the historical architectural side of Damascus, and it's related to the Roman era. The story speaks about 7 gates of Damascus. Damascus is one of many cities around the world that was built around or inside 7 gates in the Roman area. And I think one of them is even London. So, and because it was like I was familiar with those gates, I grew up in Damascus, and they are so important to people living in Damascus. This idea of our 7 gates, it's like this part of the image of Damascus. And I would say the other pillar of the story is this magical kind of mystic one, which is related to the story of Sayyida Ruqayya, which is she is the one, like because you know the name of the story is the child lady. Sayyida Ruqayya is the child lady because, and she is a symbolic figure in the Shia belief, because Ruqayya, like according to the story, Ruqayya died when she was around 4 or 5 years old. She was the daughter of Al-Imam al-Hussein, the 3rd Imam among the 12 Imam in the Shia belief. She died in the prisons of the Umayyad Khalifa Yazid when she saw her father's severed head. So that's why like she symbols patience, she symbols grief. But was the scene, what was charming for me when I was like growing up in Damascus, she has a shrine, a holy shrine in Damascus. It's located in the old city of Damascus, and pilgrims used to come to visit her shrine. Her shrine is as small as a child's bed because, you know, she died when she was a child. So they would come to have blessing from the shrine and also to whisper their wishes to the martyr child lady, and they will be bringing plastic dolls to give it as a gift for the shrine. So that, like, that scene was always charming for me to think about it. Like, you know, it's dark, it's a bit also magical. So when Zahir invited me to participate in the Book of Damascus, because long time I wanted to write about this somehow, about this sin. So I thought this is the right moment. So it was one of the elements I built the story around. Not sure if it's easy to write about, but I would say maybe my simple answer would be no, because Damascus is really very complicated, like from social and historical like point of view. I don't think it's that an easy city to capture. That's why at first when Zahir asked me, like, we want to write a book about Damascus, at first I thought it's overwhelming. Because, you know, Damascus is Damascus. I thought, how can I write a story that have, I don't know, the essence of Damascus? It's, for me, it sounded hard. But going back to the question that did I write about it before? You know, Damascus was the only city I knew, like being a child, a teenager, till I was 28 years old when I left Damascus after the Syrian revolution happened in 2012. I left Damascus. It was the only city I know. It was the only, like, the city I'm aware of. So, but ironically, because of that, I never like wrote about it. I never thought about it as an element. It was even like in stories I wrote in 2008 or something. This was my first collection of books published. It was always just like as a backdrop to like social events happening in the story. It was just a background, but I never thought of it as, you know, an entirety, which is the center of the story. Maybe this was like the child lady, this story, maybe it was the first time that the city itself was the main element of the story. I think about this a lot because, you know, in the last 10 years, my relation with Damascus is just like I would see it sometimes in the media or so. And I would think a lot of visitors, and especially some of them are influencers who would visit Damascus in the last 10 years. You know, Damascus can be really charming, but sometimes what I feel like I would like visitors to notice also is the layers of trauma behind like this, you know, like Damascus can be really charming. The old historical city is amazing. And I would be seeing influencers. And of course, it's a beautiful city. But I would feel sometimes that the visitors like would lack sensitivity to feel the sorrow behind like this glamorous layer of Damascus, what was happening. Because before you would see visitor coming to Damascus praising this nice old city, the nice food, like the people are generous, yeah, but at the same time, like under the ground, you will have detention centers, like in the time of the regime of Bashar al-Assad, and whole other cities are destroyed. Even Damascus itself, the surrounding of Damascus will be just like whole neighborhoods on the ground, like bombed, you know, by the army. And people will get stuck like in this bubble of Damascus, of cool Damascus, where nightlife is. So what I wished before, and I still wish now, even people when visit Damascus, is just trying to not ignore these other layers of sorrow and tragedy. Most of the people I know left Damascus. So I don't even have someone still living there, I think, beside my aunt. So that's why I think in my head, it turned into some kind of a legend, a place of legend, not really a realistic place. Like, and maybe on a nostalgic level, it's kind of a lost heaven for me. So I know it's now not that realistic, and I'm not sure actually if that would change. And maybe that explains a bit. I'm just now thinking about it. Maybe that's why when I want to write about Damascus now, it's kind of, it will turn into a dreamlike magical story. Writing in exile, can you believe I don't know if it's easy or hard, because I kinda got used to it. And above that, I feel I forced myself to get used to it. Exile, maybe it's not an easy experience, but it's always, it's a shared fate between lots of writers. It was like this in history, it will stay like this in the future. Lots of writers will be in exile, writing in exile. So why I told you, like, I forced myself to not think about it. It was, I think, a survival skill in life, even before in writing, you know? Like, you know, of course, there are some stuff are really problematic, you know, being waited for to write as a refugee about your refugee experience, because sometimes you just want to be a writer about anything, not just like writing about crying about your misery. But also as writers, we have agencies, you know, people can wait us to write something, but also we can control what we write and say. And yeah, so it's not easy. And especially first, you know, when the regime fall, at first, of course, I was happy, because in the last 10 years, I did not go back to Syria. I was afraid of, you know, like Bashar al-Assad detention centers and all. Now, after the regime fall, I thought about coming back to Syria and even maybe living there. I don't know, like the next decades, what is left of my life, maybe. I backed off this idea starting March last year, because then a new bloody era started in Syria, which is targeting religious minority. I'm one of them by birth, you know. And so it started against the Alawites. And then we are now actually nowadays marking in July the attack also on Druze minority in Syria. So now in my head also this plan of coming back to Syria and you know enjoy like this new era after the Assad fall. It's also, I don't see myself doing this now, you know, at least. So that's why maybe it will be even more hard, this exile question, because now I don't know if it will, I don't know, last till the last day of my life or no. Now I don't even have more, I don't have certain answers about if I will go back or no. So you are just like living in this, I don't know what era. Actually, what I tried also to learn, maybe also as a survival skill, is at one point I thought I just want to feel it. I'm not ready to talk about it now. Like I want to observe. I want to just feel what's happening because it's so much pressure. All these changes, you know, as a Syrian. And so I don't know. Like I think for me, that's how I till now I'm trying to process all of that, what's happening. I'm trying to observe like what's happening, to feel it a bit about before like thinking what I should do about it. And as like my job, there is something I continued to do. What was I was doing in the time of even Bashar al-Assad. I work as an editor, as a journalistic editor in a website called Al-Jumhuriyya, the Republic, a political cultural website. So what I try to do in my job as a journalistic editor, to, you know, edit articles reporting Syria in a way that I see fair. So I try to do my job. I don't know if that makes me a bit feel like I'm doing something. And on the like in my personal life, just as I told you, to observe what's happening, being in contact with my family. Like, you know, like as Syrians, like this is ironic, like the bar for us is too low. I really don't like to, it's was one of my struggles, that I don't want to be pictured as a victim, as an eternal victim. I hate this. And but really, like the bar is too low now. My only wishes, I felt I'm pushed as a human to a situation where I just like wish like my family, I don't know, my remaining family members in Syria like won't be killed in a violent way or something. So I'm just like being constantly in contact with family members, being there and like just monitoring and observing what's happening. And maybe after years it will change. I will make a decision, I don't know, maybe to go back at least to visit or so. But now, yeah, that's what I'm doing. No, yeah, of course, I've seen a lot of misconceptions, but the fact is, I'm not so sensitive about it. And because it varies a lot, it depends on the group of like, or the people I meet, like here in Europe. Some of them know about Syria so much, so well. Some of them, yeah, I would have some question, like some people would ask me like, did I took off my hijab when I arrived to Europe, like assuming if I was living in Syria I would be putting hijab. And so, but as I told you, this is not the part I'm so sensitive against, especially like when it comes like from people I see in my everyday's life, because I don't know, I think it's a worldwide phenomenon. Lots of people, even in Syria, they don't know much about lots of people in other countries. But what I feel I would like to change is not much maybe the misconception, but the projection. Because I feel the Middle East, for many maybe complicated reasons, is the perfect space for projection. Because you see, as in the like Arabic-Israeli conflict and in Syria, I feel lots of like maybe like cultural, political figures, influencer, their project, like their wishes, their ideologies. And sometimes when I try to have discussions with people from Europe about like our regions, I feel like they are more aggressive than even like people from Syria and from the whole the region. So yeah, I think maybe less projection would be better. Yes, it is. I wrote about it. This is the style I found myself right in since maybe the first stories I officially published, like in 2008. And to be honest, it was not intentional. And that's why this is just the style I found myself writing in. I want to express myself in. But now, with me being in my 40s, I feel it's changing because now I question myself like more harshly artistically. Why you choose this style? Why you are writing about this topic? What do you want to say? This question, I was one of the writers that did not care about this much. Like I would say yes, like I just got inspired by this detail, and maybe it's some specific like aesthetic detail, like I want to write about it. But now I feel I want to write more like, I don't know, I want to focus more about concepts, about ideas. So maybe just after this story, this whole thing will change. Well, I'll tell you, like, as I told you before, for us, because now the bar is too low, I hope like my answer is not so much affected by this. But of course, like what mainly what I would like for Damascus is like safety, freedom, dignity for people. What should be done, you know, this German saying, this nie wieder, never again. I think the Syrians need their own nie wieder. That to think it's not just enough that al-Assad regime has fallen, but I wish people will stay critical enough and stay aware to not just like, you know, make it reborn again with this new face of this new era. That's what I hope for. I don't know. I still believe in political solutions and people working for it and people, I don't know, trying to impose it. I wish it works.